Good morning, friends. Welcome back to another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. Today we're talking about something really important, and I believe that this is important to GMs as much as it is important to the game. I think that this is a topic that everyone can agree they want to just conquer and crush. I think this is a pretty universally sought after thing, which is how to craft memorable moments in D&D. Fortunately for you, I happen to be an expert at crafting memorable moments in D&D, and I will tell you this. You cannot actually just craft the moments themselves, any more than you can just say, yeah, I'm going to make a bread. But where are your ingredients, baker? Oh, I don't need ingredients. I'm a bread expert. I know exactly what constitutes fine artisan bread, so I'm just going to do that. Well, don't you need flour, water, anything like that? Oh, no. That's for amateurs. See, this is sometimes, I think, the approach people try to take to creating memorable moments in D&D. They understand what they want. They understand the result they want. They understand the way that they want players to feel. But all too often, the ingredients are simply non-existent. So how do you solve this problem? What exactly are the ingredients that lead up to a memorable moment, and how do you craft them, mix them together to form the final result? This is a very good question. I've been playing for over 2 decades, and I have had the privilege of running my gaming groups through many memorable moments. Some of them were quite by accident, but some of them were well engineered and orchestrated intentionally. And the truth is, even if you don't specifically mean to engineer a certain memorable moment, if you put the ingredients in the bowl and you just let nature take its course, oftentimes you will end up with them. Very similar to how a baker who has never even tasted fine artesian bread might read a recipe, follow it correctly, and end up with something that is just better than anything they've ever had before, simply by virtue of treating those ingredients with the respect they deserve. Now, let us take a moment to talk about the first ingredient. What is the very first thing you need to put in the bowl to create the bread of memorable player experiences? Well, I'm glad that you asked, because the truth is, it is time. See, very memorable moments require some time. They don't just happen immediately. You don't just jump into a game and suddenly have a memorable moment. That can happen rarely, but it's very rare, and we shouldn't plan on it. What we should plan on is understanding that every memorable moment is going to require a certain amount of time investment. There needs to be a certain amount of experiential investment made by everyone at the table cooperating and participating in order to have a memorable moment emerge as a result. This might mean 2, 3, 4 sessions. This might mean 40 sessions. This might mean long-term investments to reap those big gains that you want in terms of memorable moments. Memorable moments tend to require a time investment in order to produce those amazing, memorable feelings that we feel when we experience them. But that's not the only ingredient. Time by itself would just be us sitting around at the table, spending time. It's not enough. There needs to be something else. So what's the next thing? Well, the next ingredient is actually storyline development and investment. By the way, do you struggle to come up with plot arcs on the fly? If so, I have the perfect tool for you. It is called My Ultimate Plot Randomizer. It is a free ebook. When you join my email list, you can download this for free. You'll get the link in your first email. It contains 4 D100 tables that will let you roll random plot arcs whenever you need them. Roll the hook, the conflict, and the conclusion, and even add wild and wacky stuff all right there. Download this, print it out, add it to your tool collection, and you will never go without another plot arc again. I give this away for free to help you create awesome plot arcs just like I do. I use this in almost every single session, and you are not going to want to miss out on this, so make sure you grab this. See, of the many parts that make up the anatomy of a memorable moment in D&D, one of them is storyline involvement and investment. More specifically, it's a focused, intentional narrative that players care about. put a pin in that player's caring about a thing, because we're going to talk about that next. That's an entirely different yet highly related issue that coincides with this one, but it deserves its own discourse for sure. Anyway, with that being said, storyline involvement, storyline development, storyline investment. Now, the GM and the players must work together to do this. And this is also why a much more invested, immersed, story rich group of players is much more likely to yield a memorable story, a memorable moment, than a group who is sort of just flat, playing a hex grid mini game, just rolling for attacks and moving on with no immersive role play, no character development, no deeper investment into the world state and story that's being created around the characters. And just like players are required to invest of themselves to create this narrative, the GM also plays a crucial role. Without giving the players incredible pixels to work with as a launching point for their stories, these memorable moments are probably never going to really materialize in any super meaningful way. In other words, we need to be developing storylines that are consistent, that weave threads of destiny throughout our TTRPG experience. So when you take time and you add story building to that, you have the first two ingredients of what it means to head toward memorable moments in D&D. But that is not the only thing. I mentioned a moment ago that emotions were involved, feelings, attachment. We need a little bit of this, a little sprinkle of this, to really make those memorable moments pop. So let's talk about that next. Of all of the ingredients you will take to mix together to form the bread of memorable experiences in your TTRPGs, emotional involvement and connection is my favorite. This is the most moving element of the TTRPG experience. When you as the GM can manage to get players connected to the game emotionally, you have won the contest. You have discovered the key element separating the narrative caveman from the veritable Shakespearean superheroes. You have become the ultimate TTRPG storytelling collaborative genius. You've discovered the atom of the metaphysical gaming universe, my friend. But that spark of connection does not happen organically unless the GM is leaning into it. Oftentimes, this doesn't happen by accident, though it can. Generally, there has to be some effort and there has to be some increasing sophistication in order for this to happen. And here's what I mean. Anytime you get your player characters connected emotionally, attached to something, you get them to have real feelings towards something in your game, you are winning a massive victory on your campaign toward memorable TTRPG moments. Why is this? Because in order for something to be important to someone, they have to have feelings about it. They have to have some kind of connective connection to that thing, person, experience, etc. It has to mean something. It can't just be a series of numbers or an equation. Although I'm sure there are people out there who get attached to numbers and equations, like math people. I don't know what it's like to be that kind of person. But with that being said, I do know what it's like to feel very attached to an NPC, or to be very attached to the idea of defeating the big bad, or attached to helping this one village that believes in our characters so much. These are concepts that you as a GM can weave into your games, and they do require time and they require storyline investment, but they also require you as the GM to give it a little push to create moments that stair step toward the meaningful and the memorable. And this is how you do it. You have to do it in little parts. Every session, you sprinkle a little bit of it in there. So maybe they come into a village, they're approached by a little girl. This little girl has black hair and she's carrying a basket of apples. Her name is Lucy. She runs up and she says, "Sir, would you like an apple?" And she holds up an apple to the character. And the character maybe says, "Oh, thank you," and takes the apple, realizing this will save him half a ration for the day, right? This is great. Eats apple. Apple's delicious. Later on, after the conflict, after the characters have vanquished the bandits, Lucy runs up to the character and says, "I heard you beat those bad guys. Thank you." Gives character a hug. Character pats her on the head. There. You're welcome. You're welcome. Quite welcome. It is time to go to the inn and celebrate. The characters go to the inn and celebrate. That's the end of the session. The beginning of the next session begins with them waking up in their room after a night of celebration, perhaps hungover and miserable, but they're ready to basically bounce on this little village. They've collected their payment. They're ready to get going. When they get a courier, the courier says, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers, something terrible has happened. A few children have been kidnapped from the village. We believe it's the remnants of the bandit group. They are retaliating for what happened yesterday when you defeated their boss. The characters suddenly make a realization. Was Lucy taken? Oh, yes, she was one of them. They've taken them. They've taken them to the forest out to the east. There's a ridge of cliffs. They said meet them there at noon. And if anyone makes any move, the kids are going off the cliff. Okay, see, what we have developed here is a situation where you've spent just a little time investing in building a connection between this NPC child and the player characters. And now you have a situation where the players have a choice. Do they care at all about this kid enough to go after the bandits? They've already been paid. What's in it for them? Well, what's in it for them is if they have any connection to this NPC, they're going to pursue it. One of two things are going to happen. They're going to choose not to pursue it, or they're going to choose to pursue it. If they choose not to pursue it, okay, you have now learned that didn't really emotionally grab them. You'll have to try something different next time. This group is a little cold and hard. A girl giving them apples and being sweet and giving them a hug, that's not enough. You need more investment. But for some characters, this is plenty. They'll think, oh my gosh, we can't leave those kids there. This is a group of softies. You've got the softies. You've got them by the heartstrings now. Okay, now they're going to go get the children. They're going to run out there. There's going to be a fight. It's going to be challenging. Children are going to maybe almost perish, but they're saved by the adventurers. And at the end, Lucy reveals to them, thank you so much. I thought I was going to die. I just didn't think I was going to make it. They also find out she's an orphan. How does she live in the village? Well, the other parents of the village take turns watching her 1 week at a time. It's like it takes a village to raise a child. Literally, the village raises the child, but she has really no bright future ahead of her. The players realize this. They realize that her destiny is likely to be a barmaid. She might be able to find work in a stable. She's just no one's gonna invest in her in this little village. Not only are there not many resources, all of the good jobs are going to go to the biological children who are born to the parents who are watching her. They're doing a lot, just taking care of her, is what they would probably say. And so you have this predicament where the players realize they could take her with them, make her an apprentice, train her in the arts of adventuring, turn her into a druid. She could ride a mighty bear into battle one day, and she would be doubtlessly loyal to the end of time to them. And if they do that, now they're hooked. They care deeply. See, and this leads to memorable moments. The fact that they care about little Lucy so much, the fact that they've invested time into this NPC, and the fact that they have invested story into this NPC that is intertwined with the stories of the characters means that when Lucy gets her first boyfriend and he hurts her feelings and exhibits some red flags, you know what? That conversation where she cries a little tear and says, "Oh, I really liked him, but he did this and this and this, and it hurt my feelings so much." This is going to make the players just have an absolute breakdown, and they're probably going to hunt him down. They're probably going to put his head on a pole because they're a group of gnarly adventurers. But it is the memorableness of those moments that drive the players to take action as a result. And when those memorable moments happen, you can feel it with tangible pulpability. You feel the real visceral emotional connection that has been established. And you realize how that is actually real experience to the players. And you realize how you have been creating a series of increasingly memorable moments every time Lucy interacts with a party in a way that causes them to want to continue to invest in her. This is not a magic trick. This is how humans work. They get attached. They get connected. They learn to care about things in their life that prove to be, call it valuable, useful, sentimental, feel good, nostalgic, whatever, insert whatever word, because there's all kinds of different categories that could go in, and we all have memorable things that mean a lot to us that fill all kinds of different categories. But That doesn't really matter. What matters is the fact that it is memorable and that it has a category. And if you could achieve that in your game, then you have set yourself up for basically a recurring supply of memorable moments. Now, really quick, before I get to the final part of this video where we talk about basically the final step in crafting memorable moments for D&D, I just want to share a couple things with you. First of all, I've written a couple books. One's called The Ultimate Dungeon Loot Randomizer. It has 10 D100 tables of awesome dungeon loot, a lot of it magical, stuff your players have never seen before, and an adventure module called The Haunting at Ashburrow, which can be run in 5 to 10 sessions. It's a demonic, haunting, gnarly, thriller, creepy adventure that takes place in a small village. It can be inserted into any campaign. It's a campaign module. I've written these 2 books, and I would love for you to check them out. Links are in the description. You can find full product walkthroughs if you're curious about what's inside those books and whether or not you might be interested in them. Plus, you can order them in ebook, very affordable ebook versions, soft cover versions which look awesome and feel awesome, or even hardcover versions, which are a little more expensive. But hey, if you're really down for hardcover books and you like to fling them at goblins, that would be the right choice for you. I'm also a qualified Amazon affiliate, and every week I pick out a range of products that I love for D&D that I think look awesome. Sometimes it's stuff I own, and sometimes it's stuff I'm putting on my to-buy list. Tell my wife, hey, buy me this. This week, I have a whole bunch of stuff in there, actually, because I've just been adding stuff. Stuff like the official D&D Monster Manual, the official 2024 Player's Handbook, an entire case of Rockstar energy drinks, king-size peanut butter cups. This is the snack category, okay? The Chessex Hexgrid Mega Mat. Do you have a Hexgrid Mega Mat that you can write on and erase? If not, check it out. The Spelljammer box set, Outer Space D&D stuff. The Gulder's Guild Mimic Dice Chest. I actually have one of those right here. It's what I keep my dice in. It's a Mimic. That's one of my favorite things. I think it's so cool. There's also a Hextech mini D&D dice spinner. I have a lot of this stuff. A Viking mug, an ADHD&D t-shirt. Anyway, just a bunch of stuff that I think is cool that I've added to my Amazon list this week. So if you want to support the channel and go down and check out some of those things, if you make a purchase after clicking on one of those links, I'll earn a small commission and no additional cost to you. And this helps to support the channel and is awesome. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. You can also join my Discord. Link to that is in the description. That is free. All right, with that being said, let's jump back into the remainder of this video and finish up this final topic. All right, it is time to talk about the final part of creating memorable moments in D&D, the final ingredient. And this is the thing that most GMs miss. This is the thing that most GMs get wrong. And the reason they miss it is because it's quite an advanced technique. It's quite an advanced piece of knowledge. And I call this push and pull. And this is actually also a technique that some people use in dating that, when done correctly and correctly understood from a human behavior perspective, actually works really, really well. And here's what it is. It's important to understand that memorable moments are fleeting. They require freedom in order to exist and be special. See, the best way to enjoy a memorable moment is to have it land in your hand for a moment in a mysterious way, and then to have it flutter off back to the void, rather than trying to pound it into submission, stuff it into a box, etc. See, memorable moments in D&D are almost always preempted by putting in the ingredients that I've mentioned already: time, story investment, and emotional connection to the campaign, to the group, to the adventure, to the NPCs, etc. But it's also important to understand that you as a GM, at the end of the day, don't actually have control of when memorable moments will appear, when they will happen, how long they'll last, and what exactly will take place when they do happen. The memorable moment in D&D exists at the apex of a collection of very complex variables and factors that all converge at exactly the same moment. It is unpredictable, and it's not something that you would want to predict. The elusive, memorable moment in D&D is very much like the chipmunk who runs up to your screen door sometimes in the mornings and says hello to you by looking at you and chewing on an acorn, or by the little songbird that lands on your windowsill and sings you a little song before fluttering away, or like Those moments when you get in line at the coffee shop behind that attractive stranger you keep seeing over and over again. And you're standing in line behind them and you think to yourself, oh, that person is so attractive. I'm so happy that I chose this specific time and place to be in line at the coffee shop because I get to stand in line with this person. And that's kind of a special little moment. See, special moments in D&D are like these things. They kind of come in without forethought and planning. There's no way you could have planned it. And then they end nearly as unpredictably as they began. They flutter in, they hang out for a second, and then they flutter away, and you do not know when you'll see them next. And therein lies the true specialness of those moments. And here's the tip. As the GM, when you learn to let go of control of these things, when you learn to relinquish the control of these special moments, and you resolve yourself to investing in them with ingredients and then just being fine with when they come and go as a naturally occurring phenomenon, you're probably going to experience a lot more of them than you would if you're trying to cram them into the story or synthesize them artificially. Because the truth is, even if you get really good at trying to synthesize them artificially, you'll still only come up with a partial version. Truly memorable moments come when they want and they leave unpredictably, and we cannot control them any more than we can control the songbird that lands on our windowsill in the morning. Sometimes it sings this little song. And it is that elusive nature that makes it special. And it is that specialness that helps to make it truly memorable. Like that's the difference between 80% memorable and 100% memorable, is that little bit of unpredictability, that little bit of wildness, that little bit of something that you cannot actually control, and then embracing that and being at peace with it and resolving yourself to the process of investing in it with the ingredients and then being fine with the outcomes when they happen and letting go of the control of how those ingredients formulate together to create the masterpiece of the memorable moment. That's when you come up with moments that really make players think, oh my gosh, this is such an emotional game, or like this was such an epic moment, or whatever the case may be. And that, my friends, is where we will leave it for today. That concludes my dissertation on how to craft memorable moments in D&D. Thank you so much for coming back for another one of my videos. I'm here every single day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. So I will see you awesome people on the next one. Roll some D100s for me. Catch you later.